Hello, BookTube. Recently on this channel, I've made a few videos where I open a book or a couple of books and talk about them in a different way than usual, where I talk about them in the nuts and bolts way of not so much what I as a reviewer would think of them, but what a book section editor would make of them. Someone who is allotting space and who has to weigh variables when they get a book in the mail in terms of whether or not they're going to give it coverage. Uh, And there's been a reason why that particular job has been on my mind. I thought I would share that reason with you today. I am the book section editor of a tiny newspaper. Once again, for the first time in 40 or 50 years, I will now, starting in April, be the book section editor of Big Canoe News, which serves a handful of counties in northern Georgia. Big Canoe Smoke Signals is a full-color 40 or 50 page newspaper. The graphic design is fantastic. That is printed and comes out at the beginning of every month. And I will be their new book section editor. So generous two-page spread of books coverage. So I haven't had this kind of a job in a long time. I loved it, and once upon a time I had it in tiny towns and small circulation newspapers in Iowa and Illinois. But now it's Georgia. Now the scene of the crime has moved to the Peach State. And that's got me thinking about how you structure your coverage, what you do. Big Canoe is a regional newspaper. It's a very small newspaper. I'm honored to be their books editor. But typically with small regional newspapers, the editors tend to lean towards regional coverage, which makes a lot of sense if you're talking about, farm futures or local arrests or local dogs that need homes or local kids that have won awards at the high school. That makes a lot of sense because the bulk of your subscribers are going to be local and are therefore going to want to know about the news of the day. Plenty of those subscribers you will be their main newspaper. You will be their favorite newspaper. And that has led over the years, that has led many regional newspaper editors to decide, or book section editors to decide, that their book section should also be regional. That the book should be set in your locale or deal with your locale or be written by someone who lives in your locale. And I understand that in a way, if you want to do a good turn for a local author, but to me, that has always seemed to me to misserve the readers just a bit. The same readers that you're serving by giving them regional coverage in the rest of the paper, I think you're misserving by assuming they read regionally. Readers don't. The readers of even a small regional newspaper are going to make a monthly trip to the bookstore. They're going to be looking at books online at Amazon or Goodreads or Book Depository, and they're not going to see the local authors there. They're going to see the major releases and a lot of the minor releases, a lot of things that strike the that wonderful multivalent curiosity of all book readers. So my book section coverage, starting with the April issue, will reflect that. It will not be regional coverage. It will be lively, engaging, tough, readable reviews of a handful, half a dozen, of new releases for that month in the American book market. A couple of those new releases will be major. The type of things that are going to lodge on the bestseller list, the type of things that are going to get talked about on Oprah, the type of things that are going to be reviewed everywhere. I think I'm only rightly serving the curiosity of my readers to provide them with local book coverage of those books. So, for instance, the April issue, my first issue, features a long review of Bill Gates' new book, How to Avoid a Climate Disaster, and also a long review of the new biography of Philip Roth. Both of which are going to be, the Roth book isn't out yet. It comes out in April, and the Bill Gates book is out already, and both are garnering lots and lots of attention. It seems to me that Georgia readers will want a review of those books. There's also we have a mystery column and also reviews of a handful of other books of other kinds of interest, nature or murder mystery or general nonfiction or a new novel or a new memoir, something like that. And I intend to continue that. I want the book section, that two-page full-color spread. You have to look at this thing. It's just beautiful. But we'll get to that. I want that two-page spread for Big Canoe News, for the Big Canoe book section, to be able to go toe-to-toe with the smartness of the reviews and the readability of the reviews with any book section anywhere in the country. I don't want the reviews to be pokey. I don't want them to be amateurish. And I especially don't want, for instance, the book section editor for some much bigger newspaper or magazine or whatever to look at the book's coverage that where I'm the editor and say, well, it's all local. So it's not going to be that. Instead, it's going to be books coverage that I believe you will want to see. And that brings us to the subject of how you will see it, right? Because the delivery mechanism, the delivery system for a local newspaper, I mean, Big Canoe is small. And the delivery system for such a thing to brick and mortar venues where let's say you live in the northern Georgia area and you want to know where you can get the paper at the beginning of every month, that delivery system was always a little bit catch as catch can anyway. And in a pandemic world, all the more so. So you could still try that. And if you live in that area, I can try and get you a brick and mortar place that might have it, but no guarantees. There can't be any guarantees. But there are two other ways that you can savor the riches of Big Canoe and also Big Canoe's new book section. One way would be to subscribe to the digital version of the paper, which I believe the digital version is uploaded before the print version goes out on trucks. So at the end of the month before rather than at the beginning of the new month. And the paper doesn't use a paywall of any kind. So what you see in the rather beautiful digital version of Big Canoe News is the same thing that you would see on the newsstands. So that's one way, is to just check out the book section, the whole of the newspaper in the digital version as it renews, bookmark the page, that sort of thing. And the other way is to subscribe to the print newspaper and get this beautiful full color 50-page wodge of a thing on your doorstep at the beginning of every month. I like to view those copies as the collectible version of Big Canoe News, because those are the actual printed versions where you can fold things, you can cut them out, you can tuck them into books, that sort of thing. And you are welcome to do that. Absolutely welcome to do that. For $30 a year, you get 12 big, jam-packed, full-color issues, including that 2-page book spread of all the new releases that I can cram in there, plus columns of general interest, mystery columns. I do a regular coming attractions column where I talk about the spread of new books that are coming out that month. It'll all the tectonics of those things will vary from month to month, but it will all be original, no wire copy, and it will be worth your time. So if you feel like not missing that print version, that tangible print version, well, then you can go. I'll leave a link to the website down below. You can go and subscribe. You can go and subscribe to Big Canoe News. You'll get it on your doorstep at the beginning of every month. It's a lovely thing. The graphics professionalism of the thing is a big part of what drew me to it in the first place. But that's why I've been thinking about books as a book section editor. Because, for instance, I am right now planning my May issue. And that's a lot of fun. I had forgotten, I admit. It's been so long since I last had this kind of a job that most of you weren't born when the last time I had it. And I forgot how much fun it was. It's not the same thing as a job that I had for 10 years where I was the managing editor of Open Letters Monthly, an online literary review, for a couple of reasons. With a print newspaper, deadline means deadline. There's a truck waiting. There's a printing press that's waiting. There are delivery people who are being paid to wait. Online doesn't feel quite that much. With Open Letters Monthly, we had a deadline. We were going to put up a new issue at the first of every month. And believe you me, in the last 4 days of the previous month, that could feel like a very real deadline. But Open Letters Monthly was a literary journal. I myself tried to write about new releases, but it wasn't the rule in any way. We writers cogitated and pondered about all kinds of things. And they weren't always new, and they didn't need to be. And the job is also very different from the successor to Open Letters Monthly, Open Letters Review, which is an online literary journal where I am one of the editors, and that's ongoing now. Our remit for Open Letters Review is 800, 900, 1,000 word reviews of new books in the American market. But it's a free online site. It's updated when we have new reviews. That happens often. I'd like it to happen more often, but it's not the same thing as having those 2 empty print pages that you have to fill, or they'll be blank. That is a particular thrill and a particular joy of its own. I'm remembering that as I ease my way into this job. And I wanted to make this announcement in case any of you are curious to go over there, click on the site, read the book reviews when they go up, subscribe to the paper and get it delivered to your doorstep. What fun. What fun is that? I get a handful of regional newspapers delivered here to Hyde Cottage. In my case, they are regions where I used to live, so I feel a personal connection, but we've got a little personal connection here. So anyway, I just wanted to let you know, myself and my writers for Big Canoe's book section are going to put out a book section that need doff its hat to no one. To no one. We're going to have in every issue a couple of major headlining new releases, fiction and nonfiction, and then a good representative smattering of lots of other stuff, all new, all interesting, all of it assuming an omnivorous curiosity and a great deal of reading intelligence on the part of the audience. I think that's great, and I'm going to honor that for the whole time that I'm doing it. But that's why I've been thinking of books a little bit in terms of a book section editor. I'm very proud of the fact that the writing, the reviewing in the Big Canoe 2-page book section is going to be as good as you will find anywhere. I'm very proud of that fact. It reminds me of an old friend of mine eons ago in the newspaper business who always used to say at lunch, perhaps after one too many glasses of wine, he used to say that the Poughkeepsie bee keeps him up at night. The Poughkeepsie bee keeps me up at night. And what he meant by that wasn't one particular mythical small-town paper, but was the idea that somewhere out there in one of what at the time was 1 million small-town newspapers in America, somebody's probably writing really good stuff. There's probably a really good section, arts and entertainment section out there that no one knows anything about. And that kept him up at night, wondering, how good these things were that only their region ever sees. Neither one of us could have imagined the internet, and the internet has solved that problem. Big Canoe News can be read by anybody, anywhere, for free. Or you could subscribe. but there isn't that barrier anymore. There isn't the question of if you're in just the right place in the Shenandoah Valley and some local newspaper book section editor gets some kid who walks off the sidewalk and she's brilliant and she's a brilliant book reviewer, and he starts funneling books her way and says, I'll take whatever you write. He knows perfectly well that if she sticks with it, she is destined for other things. The St. Louis Dispatch, the Chicago Tribune, then the New York Times. He knows that. He knows he's only going to have her for a little while. But that's what my old friend was talking about, that those people crop up out of nowhere, and you don't know. At the time, you didn't know they were out there or what was going to happen to them. You were always coming to their story late. You were always only learning about them once they started writing for the Wall Street Journal. And you could see in their little bio note that they'd written for years for the Poughkeepsie Bee or whatever, but you hadn't seen that work. And in the pre-internet days, there was no thought whatsoever that work would ever be collected. Not so much now. Now you will be able to read this stuff. And so it's another book section, another book review section that I wanted to bring to your attention. And I admit, I'll try not to harp on the point, although I am thrilled. I'm sure that you can tell that. I'll try not to harp on the point, but it is going to be in the back of my mind now when I'm opening new books on this channel. And we have one of those today. We have another book. One more. So we will look at this like we've looked at a couple of others recently and see, let's look at this from my point of view, from a book section editor, a print newspaper book section editor. With Open Letters Review, every book I get is a potential review. A reprint of the most abstruse thing in the world, a Loeb Classical Library, anything. All of it is. Because it's me and a bunch of other editors who are charting their own course. But with a print section newspaper going, a paid newspaper going out to readers, I have to think of those readers before I think of anything else. And I only have so much space. So what have we got? What have we got here? Oh, oh my. Oh my. Okay, this does have a pub sheet. This comes out any day now. This is out already. March 23rd. Yeah, this is out already. But oh my. Okay, so it's a little late. It'll be a little late for a May newspaper section, but oh my, do I want to sing its praises to you and to get you to, get your library to get a copy, put a copy aside. You're going to love this author. This is the great E.O. Wilson, a naturalist. And he is now the latest addition to the Library of America. Full color, bright green cover. There's our author. That kindly wise face, that is the face that all ants worship at night. And what does this have? This has a Biophilia, The Diversity of Life, which is his masterpiece, and The Naturalist. This is 3 books by Edmund Wilson, the great naturalist, E.O. Wilson. This book gathers 3 environmental classics from the 2-time Pulitzer Prize winner, Edward O. Wilson, a masterful writer-scientist whose works have galvanized generations of readers in the face of the existential crises threatening life on our planet. Wilson, who will turn 92 on June 10th, 2021, and who I have the honor of reviewing. Like I mentioned on this channel, I'm always happy when an author I really like lives long enough for me to review them. I got out of the reviewing game for 25 years and only then got back in. So I lost the chance to write about a lot of people, either to bury them or to praise them. But E.O. Wilson has just kept going along. I reviewed his latest book for, I think, the Christian Science Monitor, or maybe it was the Boston Globe. I reviewed his latest book for the Boston Globe. It's The Ants World, and we're just living in it. The graphics person there for the Globe did a great job on that review. So he will turn 92 on June 10th, 2021. Will become just the 3rd living writer in the Library of America series with Wendell Berry and Joan Didion. So the Library of America, some of you will know this, or oh, look at how beautiful that is. This isn't what they usually look like. Library of America ordinarily has black spines with the red, white, and blue ribbon across them. But this is full color as well. It should be. That's fantastic. And they are not a not-for-profit. I think they're non-profit. Sort of an official Library of American great literature. They have sewn bindings and acid-free pages, built-in cloth bookmark, a minimum of scholarly intrusion. They're just wonderful. They're just wonderful. They're a wonderful thing to just collect. I have a whole bunch of them. I always wish I had a lot more. I could kick myself. There used to be a little used bookstore, the Boston Book Annex here in Boston. I used to go there all the time. I had appointments that brought me right nearby, so I'd go in all the time. And one time, they got somebody's whole Library of America collection just on a wall. They put it on a wall behind the register. And you could buy individual books, but they really wanted to sell the whole thing, and they were asking $300 for the whole of it. And I kicked myself. I should have done that, but one way or another. Only those 2 other people, Wendell Berry and Joan Didion, are living authors who are in this. That hasn't always been true. They have inducted some living authors who then went on to die. but now there are only 3 living authors in the Library of America. Fantastic. These 3 books, presented here with an introduction by best-selling nature writer David Quammen. The introduction is by David Quammen. Also great. Also belongs in the Library of America. Incredible. And a newly researched chronology of Wilson's life and career illuminate the evolution and complex beauty of our imperiled ecosystems and the flora, fauna, and civilization they sustain, even as they reveal the personal evolution of one of the greatest scientific minds of our age. Incredible. Okay, well, this is $45. It's out already in your bookstores. I cannot sing this author's praises high enough. I wonder if The Diversity of Life is illustrated. In a lot of its paperback editions, it is illustrated. Let's see here. Yeah, it is. Son of a gun. Son of a gun. Fantastic. So you get that, and also in the memoir in here, you get black and white photos of Wilson himself. There he is being honored by President Jimmy Carter. Fantastic. What a volume. Amazing. All right, so so this doesn't have much to do with my book editor hat, but it has a lot to do with my book reviewer hat, because I can review this on Open Letters Review, even though it's already out. It'll be a little too old by the time my May issue of Big Canoe News comes out. But other Library of America volumes will not be, and they are very much of interest to the general reader, very much so. There are some fantastic Library of America volumes coming down the chute. So there you go. That is our video for today. It's one book and an announcement. So I will leave all the information for Big Canoe down below, and I'm going to wrap this up, but I will see you soon. Thank you, BookTube.